Welcome, everyone, to the very first episode of the Commercial Deep Dive series. Today, we're kicking things off with episode one, From Vision to Dirt, where we will walk you through the crucial early stages of turning a commercial real estate idea into a fully funded, shovel-ready project. We've brought together a powerhouse panel of experts, a commercial lender, commercial builder, commercial realtor, business broker, and a hard money lender. Each brings a unique perspective on financing, property selection, deal structuring, and navigating the build process or commercial deal. Whether you're an investor, developer, entrepreneur, or business owner, this conversation is designed to give you actionable insights, real-world strategies, and practical tools to help you succeed in Austin's competitive commercial market. Now let's get started. I'd like to introduce you to our expert panel, starting with Marilyn Randazzo.
Hi, everybody. I am Marilyn Randazzo. I'm a commercial realtor. I'm with eXp Commercial. I started over 15 years ago as an investor. Buying properties, crunching numbers, and negotiating deals is where I fell in love with real estate, and the passion led me to become a licensed realtor. I bring an investor mindset to every transaction, analyzing the cash flow, cap rates, ROI, tax savings, so my clients can make confident, data-driven decisions with a background in insurance and accounting. I know how to structure the deals and the outcome. I'm known as a deal maker who thinks outside the box to exclusive off-market properties across Austin, fastest growing corridors. With over 15 million in closed commercial transactions, I offer a full service approach, coordinating lenders, attorneys, builders, and more to keep every deal smooth, strategic, and stress-free. Bottom line, I don't just open doors. I'm a strategic planner and partner, helping you find, evaluate, close the right opportunities, and I don't stop until the deal is done.
Great. Thank you, Marilyn. Now, Justin Voss.
Hey everyone, I'm Justin Voss. I work for First Citizens Bank. I am a commercial lender and business banker. What that means is I provide loans to operating companies. A little bit about me and my background. I started in banking in 2010, started on the private banking side, quickly moved to the underwriting side. So the vast majority of my career, from about 2012 to 2020, was on the underwriting side. And in that time, I got to learn how to structure deals, how to get deals approved, and how to look at credit in general. And I started as a lender in 2020, and my underwriting background really taught me to look at a deal from both a sales perspective and a credit analysis perspective. And because of that, I'm able to have a high approval rate on the loans that I do now. So my underwriting background has helped me tremendously in speaking the language that those underwriters speak, and just knowing how to get deals done. People often tell me, how did you get that deal done? Because I wouldn't have been able to. Well, that credit background that I have really helped me in that regard. So nowadays, what I'm doing is providing financing to operating companies, whether that be for real estate purchases, refinances, ground up construction loans for your company, can provide equipment financing, working capital lines of credit, can provide business acquisition financing, typically at 100% financing conventionally. And we can also provide SBA financing. If you're a young company that is new to the game, whether that be for real estate purchases or you're just a young company in general, you may have to go through the SBA to get financing. And we can offer those loans, 7A loans, which could be for real estate or business acquisition. Business acquisition loans through the SBA are always good because you can amortize them over 10 years. Most conventional loans, when it comes to business acquisition, are over 5 years. So that's a pro to SBA 7A loans. The other SBA loan is a 504 loan, which is for real estate, which allows you to only put 10% down. Now, conventionally, I can also provide that, but 15% down. The norm in the industry for commercial real estate, you're typically required to put 20 to 25% down. So the 15% down that I can provide is a big benefit. I'm going to share my screen here for my current rates that I'm offering for owner-occupied financing. You can see this little table right here. I'm able to offer as low as 4.99% for owner-occupied real estate right now. And this is for existing properties that you're purchasing or refinancing. So if you want a 15-year amortization, it can give you 4.99% right now, into the low fives, depending on the structure that you choose. So this is a tremendous benefit. It can save companies upwards of $100,000 or more, six figures in interest savings right now. The rate environment has been crazy. The last year, it has been actually going down since January or so. And these are promo rates that are especially low right now. So if you're interested in expanding your business through real estate, these rates could be of benefit to you. So that's all I have for now, and I believe I'm going to pass it on to Raylene now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Raylene McDowell with Investors Best Lending. We're dedicated exclusively to providing private money, hard money for commercial mortgages and business purposes. I have over 20 years in the lending arena. I started as a traditional banker and broker out of San Francisco and then transitioned over to here in Austin in the private money arena in 2020. I started this business because I found a lot of investors were, getting turned down for traditional lending purposes. Either they didn't have enough experience or they were really taking a deep dive into their personal finance. And it became, I felt like it was a niche that I really needed to dive into. So, our simple goal is to provide investors with working capital they need to secure the deal quickly and maximize their cash flow. We don't focus on the personal income or tax returns. We focus on the most important thing, which the property itself and how much it could generate in the future. I specialize in a variety of personal money platforms right now for ground up construction. We have construction loans. These are short-term loans designed specifically for a construction project. They have a series of draws until the loan is completed. And then you have the option to roll into a DSCR loan, which is an asset-based loan. We also provide hard money, bridge loans, and these are small term loans. They're interest only and they bridge the financial gap. They're designed from when you buy the lot of land into your early construction costs. And then eventually it will roll into a more secure platform. We also lend on rentals, rehab, fix and flips, purchases. All of my loans are geared and we lend specifically on the property, not the borrower. So please think of me if you have any projects that come your way and you're just having trouble securing financing through a traditional bank.
Thank you, Raylene. Now we're coming up to Christy Warner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christy Warner, and I'm a business broker here in the Austin area, but I'm also a lifelong entrepreneur, salon owner, realtor, and investor. Because I've been on both sides of the table, I understand what it takes to run a business and what it takes to sell one. My passion is helping owners and buyers create win-win deals. I do that by using data-driven valuations, creative deal structures, and a smooth, confidential process so everyone can move forward confidentially. Today, I'm excited to share some insights on how buyers and sellers are aligning in Austin's market and the strategies that help close deals faster. I'm a lifelong networker. I love connecting people, and that's what sets me apart from other business brokers. I don't just list it. I actually go out and connect people so they can get the deal done.
Thank you, Christy. And now I'm the one next. Everyone, my name is John Lee, and I've been in the construction industry for over 15 years. My company is Structural Design Build. Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to build restaurants, subdivide land for development, and install major utility lines that support entire communities. I've also worked closely with some of Austin's largest developers, including Slate, to bring high-profile projects to life. In addition, I've successfully managed and delivered SBA-funded construction projects, and my portfolio includes developments ranging into the millions of dollars. I'm excited to bring that experience into today's conversation and to share practical insights from a builder's perspective on what it takes to move a project from vision to reality. To get things going, I'll bring up some questions for the panel. If you have any questions during our discussion, you can bring them up in the chat. For our first question, we have for the commercial lender and hard money lender, Justin and Raylene. When evaluating financing options, what are the biggest mistakes you see investors or business owners make, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So some mistakes that I've seen are business owners engaged a lender too late. So, and I say a lender. So what I mean by that is I recommend to engage multiple lenders when you're first, going through a project, figuring out if you're going to purchase real estate, something like that. You need to be engaging, if you're a young business, an SBA lender, you need to be engaging probably at least two commercial conventional lenders. And you also need to know what's out there on the alternative side. Say you get hung up in your deal, you can't get financing through a conventional lender or SBA financing for whatever reason. You need to know what is out there. And so somebody like Raylene is important to know what those options are. So engage your lenders early. Don't just, get under contract for a property and then engage a lender. You need to vet your lenders early, know what kind of structure they can offer you for whatever you're doing, so that you can understand what it's going to cost you in terms of fees, in terms of interest rate, and in terms of the entire project. Yeah, you need to be able to just have that understanding and confidence going into a project. Hey, I'm paying this much in rent now, and this is what it's going to cost me in my monthly mortgage payment. This is what it's going to cost me in fees. So you're going to have some sort of understanding of how much cash is this going to cost me up front, and then how much cash flow is it going to eat up going forward after you make the purchase. So your lenders are going to be the ones to help you understand that.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. Raylene?
Yeah, I notice a lot of investors when they're first starting out, they just don't have the expertise or the knowledge, and they kind of dive in, they get attached to the project, and they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to fix and flip this, and it's going to be easy and great, and it's a quick fix to get money. And that's definitely not the situation at all. You need to really know what you're doing, due diligence. And I find another downfall is that a lot of investors are really rate driven. They're focused on the rate. They need to be focused on the payment. The payment, if it's lower, can maximize your cash flow. And it's always really good to check out other resources, just like Justin said. Have different lenders in your back pocket. It's, creative finance or hard money might be a really great way to get into the project. And sometimes you might get denied by a bank last minute. And if you don't have those backup plans, and you're kind of just stuck holding the bag and not really knowing what to do. So definitely research different lenders, and that's the best thing to look at.
Awesome, Raylene. Thank you. Now for our audience, are there any questions for the lenders? Do you have anything that you'd want the lenders to answer or give insight into?
I can just add on to what I was saying a little bit. If you're down the road and preparing to purchase a property, or maybe you've purchased land in cash and you're going to develop a property for your business, you need to be engaging that lender when you make that first purchase of the land, because the lender's going to need to understand, the land value, and also they can help you understand what it's going to cost to develop this project. Because there are fees and costs that you might not be thinking about, that where you can kind of get stuck with. So you're not able to get it approved by the lender that you think you're going to be approved with. And then you start, paying all this money for developing plans, for getting permitting done. It costs, a pretty penny. And so I've seen this recently where a business owner came to me and said, "Hey, I need financing to develop this huge industrial building for my business that I'm starting." And I said, "Okay, cool. So when do you need to close?" And they said, "Well, the 19th." I said, "Oh, cool. Like the 19th of November, something like that." She's like, "No, the 19th of this month," which was here 4 days ago. So, and that was just a few weeks ago. So, yeah, needless to say, that business owner is stuck. And so that she's going to be hitting hard deadlines with that contractor that she was working with. And if she can't pay that contractor, then she's basically in default of the contract. And so she's in a hard spot right now. And that could have been avoided had she engaged lenders earlier.
I see that a lot too, Justin. So sometimes when people look to buy land, should they look to also be in touch with the lender first at the same time as getting a commercial realtor? Because I always see commercial
Uh,
realtor, then the lender comes in next. And then that's where the problem starts happening.
Yes. Yeah, definitely engage the lender, even if you plan to make the land purchase in cash, because the lender is going to be able to provide you with creative ways to work around the whole scope of what you're trying to do. So they could provide financing for that land instead of you having to shell out all that cash up front. You could get financing for the land, and then you could work on a plan with that lender to roll that into a development loan once you're ready to develop your property. Now you've eaten up all your cash if you pay for the land in cash, and then you're cash poor going into the development loan, and the lenders kind of look at that maybe a little bit differently. So yeah, it's definitely important to engage lenders early in the process.
That's another thing. So I see people trying to save money by using all the cash they have, thinking that they're going to get a better deal after they buy the land, which for some reason I have to explain to people that's not a better deal because you don't have the write-off. Keep the cash, borrow the bank's money to do as much loan as possible, and you still have the cash. Cash with a purchase is a lot better than no cash, a purchase that has no debt, and then you guys have to finance it, right?
Right. And when you buy land in cash, you'd say, well, I can use that as my equity. And that's sometimes true, but lenders have different rules about when you can use land purchased in cash as equity. Like, for example, my bank, First Citizens, we say if you've owned the land for 1 year, then we can use it as equity. But if you go into this process with the lender up front, it completely changes it, because we know that this is a part of the plan to develop the property. It really does change. It changes everything if you engage the lender early.
Interesting. And Raylene, when people come to you, do they try to save money as well, or do they go ahead and try to have you guys fund everything?
No, they kind of come to us as a last minute option, which sometimes is just too late because I'm not able to help them because they've already missed deadlines. I ran into a situation where someone bought a lot of land and they thought it is in a great area. Well, it's zoned for the city, so the city has rights to the majority of that lot of land. So guess what? Their lot of land is cut in half. So things like that, they should have researched in the beginning, because now we can't lend on that lot of land because they don't own all of that land. It's zoned through the city, and the city has an easement to use part of that land. So little things like that, they should have done more research before they bought the land.
Interesting. Yeah, I see that too. I see where the research was not done properly, and I think they jumped the gun on conclusions, and then when the reality sets in, it starts piling up on problems after problems after problems and
Yeah.
makes it very difficult.
And they could have avoided that whole situation if they came to a lender first, because we would have done the due diligence and realized how much of that land is actually usable.
Yes, that's a good point. Thank you. Now, as a commercial builder, I want to mention my perspective. And the first three things I tell clients to prepare for before breaking ground are realistic budget expectations from a builder and developer standpoint, not from your own experience. Especially if you just done houses and never done commercial, you're in for a rude awakening. I don't know how many times I've had builders come to me. They thought because they built a house, they can do the same with commercial. It's not. The rules are different, especially if you're in the city of Austin. Everything is code compliant. There's more layers of regulations that you have to go through, and also more specific requirements necessary from a lending standpoint as well. Also, potential soft costs. Most owners that I've met, they think because they built a house or they built a small structure, they know everything that's involved in making this plan work. And that's big lie. It's a big joke. If you go in the city of Austin, there are engineering requirements. There are also architectural permits, uh, variance hearings, regulations. I mean, it's a whole different animal to build commercial than versus a house, and cover unforeseen delays. Delays are a big problem. People don't think they think I've done a house in 12 months, I can do commercial 8 months or less. And that's wrong. Commercial has more inspections. There's also scheduling. There's also bank requirements, their inspections. And then there's also city inspections and engineering inspection. There's a lot of layer of obstacles to overcome in commercial versus just residential. And with that being said, does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, great. I'm glad. Now we're coming up to the commercial realtor, Marilyn Randazzo. What signals or red flags should an investor look for when deciding if a commercial property is truly a profitable opportunity?
I would say like the property condition, environmental issues, like if there was like a formal gas station or a dry cleaners, there can be expensive EPA headaches, like hundreds of $1,000s to clean it up. I usually recommend to stay away once we find that that is a problem. Also with zoning, make sure that, that they're, conforming uses that can't be rebuilt if, like, let's say if you decide to, you know, tear down a commercial building and rebuild a commercial building, it may not have the same zoning as what it did back in the day. I saw that firsthand in Georgetown the other day when I was there for zoning. These poor people, they trying to build a gas station, and it wasn't my client, and they got declined because just the road conditions just weren't favorable for that actual gas station. So they didn't do their due diligence before buying the property. The market and the location, make sure that you don't have a declining population or nothing's like oversupplied. Um, Make sure that, you have strong, traffic counts and growth coordinators, that supplement the property that you're buying. Legal and regulatory, like title problems, zoning don't match, deed restrictions, make sure that you know all that good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Marilyn. Are there any questions for the commercial realtor?
No, but I did want to add to it, like, Marilyn, I will not lend on any land that used to be a gas station or dry cleaning, period.
Uh,
Why is that?
Because it's just such a big liability, and private money doesn't want to go into that. It's a headache, and they can choose where they want to put their money, and that's not it.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Justin,
Yeah, I mean, I've financed some gas stations. There was a certain year where um, the tanks, the quality of the underground tanks
I
really
remember.
improved. And so if you had a gas station or a property that was used to be on a gas station land, um, and if it was, originally constructed before that threshold, yeah, there's probably some leakage underneath there. Um, but gas stations nowadays, typically they use really high quality material where the leaks are, you know, pretty minimal. And they last a long, long time nowadays. So it just depends on the year, the age of the property, um, and that kind of thing. And yeah, if you want to buy one of those properties, yeah, you definitely go through the EPA and get a phase one. And if there's any findings at all, if you get financing for it, the bank's probably going to require a phase two, which is a more in-depth environmental study. So it's just the dollars add up if you choose a property like that. You know, if you go through the phase two, if there's some kind of finding in the phase one environmental report, a phase two costs a lot of money. You're talking probably 10 grand.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'll tell you, I have to ask, so do you guys still require EPA studies if a gas station or is it on, it's not only gas station, right? There's other stuff that can turn into like a study, a deep study requirement.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anything chemical related, if you're some kind of a manufacturer of chemicals, if it's a car wash,
Oh, car
any
wash? Okay.
car washes for sure. Yeah. If you've got anything chemically, yeah,
Like
dry cleaning.
oil changing facilities. No, thank you.
Oh, interesting.
Yep,
Yep.
chemicals in the ground.
Okay. So Marilyn, when you look at stuff like that, do you let the owners know that they have to do or they have to be ready for studies and stuff, or they just kind of wheel and deal and try to think they're getting the best deal because of the price?
So the one that we did, I did a location in Taylor that used to be a car wash, and the people that came in that were buying it, they had to do all the studies, they had to do everything, and luckily we had found where yes, it was a car wash, but there was actually a gas station too that was just like a small distance from this location. So one of our reports came back just a little uneasy, so they had to go to the second phase. And luckily, there were other tests that were, performed on the gas station, so we were able to complete it, and they were able to buy it. But then, in order for them to take that big leap of faith on that property, we did price it very low. It was basically a steal, but because of the location and the time that they wanted to offload it, we marketed it that way. We priced it that way.
Pricing is everything, isn't it? Like
Hmm.
Like if it's sitting, when I see property and it's sitting way too long, the first thing that comes to my head is it priced right? Are they asking too much? Because then I know from previous dealings with realtors, if it sits too long, it gets stigmatized, right? Then people they'll start saying, okay, it's sitting there for 90 days, 100 days, whatever, for what's the standard rate, you know? There's something like they're probably asking too much. So then that means it's attracting some, I guess, lowballers coming ready to just lowball you if they see it sitting there for a long time.
Well, the other thing is right now, because of the current market, we're we're marking everything 10% below reg market right now, just to be able to put, get your eyeballs seen on those locations because of the market. If you're not marketing your program, all of your properties 10% below market, you're not even getting looked at right now because there's so much on the market. It's just insane right now, and you just won't get looked at unless you market below everything.
Interesting. Okay, well, thank you, Marilyn. Now we're coming up to the business broker, Christy Warner. In today's Austin market, how are buyers and sellers aligning on valuations, and what strategies help close deals faster?
Well, it's been said over and over again already today, but having the financials in order, and not only for the buyer to have all those financials ready with Justin or Raylene, but also the seller that's selling the business has to have their finances in order. And so when I meet with the seller, I give them a list of items that I need, such as tax returns, um, return on investments, for however long that they've been in business, at least 3 years, but we have dealt with sellers that only been in business for 6 months. So getting as much data as possible is really important so that it's listed correctly. And then when the buyer's ready to come by, and just like they said earlier, is, it takes 6 to 12 months to sell a business. So, we want to get in there with the lenders as soon as possible so that we even know. And that's how I can tell if a seller or buyer is serious, because Marilyn can attest to the fact too, it's not, I mean, it is fun. Don't get me wrong. I love going around and driving and showing people things. But at the end of the day, time is money. And so Marilyn and I want to know, how much money do you have to spend, and how much cash are you going to give at the end of the day, and how much is the lender going to give? So that way I'm not just driving around wasting my time looking at things that maybe they can't even afford. So that would be the first thing. The second thing would be the creative deal structures. So such as seller financing, earnouts, or staggered payments. And again, we want to do this way ahead of time. And then again, prepared sellers close faster. So having all those finances in order so that I can list the business properly is really important. And then as the buyer has the correct amount of money that they're going to be able to have to purchase, the business with or without commercial property is super important.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Now,
welcome.
are there any questions for the business broker? All right, Christy, here's one. So when you do buying and selling, doesn't the buyer need to kind of have a relationship with the bank first before they start looking to purchase?
Yes. And so if somebody calls me up and says, okay, I want to buy a hamburger stand, I want to pay $100,000. And I say, okay, well, do you have $100,000 cash, or how you're going to be prepared to purchase the property? And, why did that $100,000 price point, why is that in your head? But really, it's so important, being here today on this webinar with y'all. It's like we have a powerhouse team, and that is a selling point for all of us that we get to bring together, is that there's 4 of us here today that does commercial, and we're going to strategize and work together. And, that's something that we could sell to people that call us that need our help, is, we have these people in our lives. We have a power team here today, and we're really fortunate because not everybody has that. I mean, how many businesses spend this kind of time to try to get out information to the general public? I think that's really important.
Yes, you're right. I agree with you. One of the big things about this power team in this chapter is that we all know each other, so we all know how to communicate and make the deal done. Not like individually, well, go see her, go see him, go see that, and then they don't know each other, so they're gonna swing it this way, or you get pulled that way. You get pulled in all different directions. But when you get a team of people ready to help you close a deal, that's a lot better than trying to do it yourself, and then you're pulled in all sorts of different directions, and you lose your path to getting the deal done.
Yeah, we have a question here. Christy, are there any types of businesses you don't work with?
No, mostly it's anything over 7 million. I'm fortunate to work with a brokerage, and we have a team of people that we work with, and everybody kind of has their niche. And so again, collaboration is everything. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think it does for the
Yes.
most part.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And Krista, you deal with franchises too, right? Are the franchises the same as buying and selling entrepreneur business or
It really depends on what the contract says between the person and like if someone already owns a piece of a franchise, a lot of times they want to use their own people within the business. So it really just depends on what that contract says, but yes, I can.
okay. And you can also give a second opinion, right? If a franchise makes them buy or sell their franchise to another potential buyer within the franchise, you could look at that offering, right? And see if you can offer a bigger uh bigger selling point, right? Or bigger opportunity than what the internal franchise operations can produce.
Yes, like if, if Sid wanted to buy a business within his franchise and he said, look, I'm sorry, I can't use you. I have to use the people within my franchise. Would you mind, having a look at this deal or have a look at the finances of this company I would like to buy, sell, whatever. Um, yes, I can absolutely do, and we do offer free evaluations.
Okay. So if you're selling in the franchise and the buyer is coming at a different price point than what you think you could get money for, that's important to know, right? Like if
Yes, and it's worth having a conversation, absolutely.
okay, and then it's up to the contract agreement of the franchisee and franchisor to see or figure out the differences and stuff like that, or how to address the
Correct,
differences.
correct.
All right, good deal. All right, well, are there any other questions? Now we're coming up to the entire panel cross discussion. And we're going to go through this one by one. If you had to give one piece of advice to someone about to start their first commercial project in Austin and surrounding areas, what would it be and why? And we'll start with Marilyn.
Definitely the master the zoning and the permitting process to buy before you buy a single square foot. That is just key, kind of like they tell you in real estate, location, location. Well, zoning and permitting, it goes right there with the location. Um, when you understand the zoning and the permitting up front, you can design the perfect project the right the first time and control the budget and timeline and to avoid any, surprises that can kill your ROI. It turns out to be a nightmare into a smooth, profitable deal.
Great. Thank you so much, Marilyn. Now we're coming up to Justin.
My piece of advice would be number one, engage your lenders early. And I say lenders, I do recommend to engage multiple lenders so that you can know what options are available to you. And you want to have the confidence that you need to be able to proceed with your project. And you're going to be able to get that if you have multiple lenders involved. You know what terms they can offer, and you can get decisions from those lenders saying, here's your approval or here's your pre-approval. You want to have confidence that your lending is going to be approved. And you can only do that if you engage them early enough so that you have the confidence you need to make the right steps to move forward. The other thing is to vet your general contractor that you choose. Make sure that they have the right amount of experience. Choose somebody like John Lee, who has the experience that you need. Because what happens is if you don't choose a contractor that has a lot of experience or that just hasn't had a high success rate, what could happen is, and I've seen this multiple times, the contractor goes bankrupt in the middle of the project. If that contractor is not bonded and you don't have bonding for your project, you're kind of screwed, to be frank. And so you have to go then find another contractor. They're going to charge you a premium to complete the project. And so you're going to be out a lot more money. Nobody's going to be happy. The lender's not going to be happy. So you have to vet your contractors as well as your lenders. So that's my piece of advice.
Thank you so much, Justin. Raylene.
I feel it's important to definitely do your due diligence because the market in Austin is always in a state of flux. Relying on general market trends isn't enough. You must do an intense level of due diligence on the specific property that you want, understanding the zoning and permitting Land development codes are always, changing. They're very complex. So working with a knowledgeable commercial broker and a builder and a lender is a must. Sometimes you might think it's a great deal, but it could become a financial nightmare if you discover you can't use the property for what you intended to use it for.
Awesome. Thank you, Raylene. Christy.
So yes, I think the absolute most important thing is having all the financing in order. But beyond that, since it's been said many times, it's important to get your financing in order. Is if it's your first time in this arena, I do highly recommend already purchasing a cash flowing business, and that's where I come in. And after that, it's just really important that you're able to, whoever you work with, I mean, all the way around from the lenders to your contractor, that you feel comfortable and that you really can communicate with them. So I think those are both really important because things get lost in translation, or you're intimidated by your contractor or your lender or whatever. And so you don't say this or you don't say that. So it's really important to make sure that you feel comfortable and you can communicate really well with them.
Awesome. Thank you, Christy. Now, for me, team building is the biggest thing that I would recommend doing before you start a commercial project. Get your multiple lenders, get your broker, get your builder, get them all together. Because if you start shopping this like you do a regular project, you're going to get into a lot of trouble. I've seen people sit there and start shopping things out. Well, I got this rate for her. I got that rate for him. I got savings here. We can cut this, cut this, cut this. And then when the project starts, they just blew their budget and they're going upside down. And then they're flipping out and there's not enough money to finish the project. And I'll tell you, banks do not give like they used to in 2008, where if there was a change order, they'd give you more money. It doesn't work like that anymore. They have to repackage and figure out how much more do you need. That's from my experience. If you go over a certain budget of what the loan amount is, the banks are going to have to reconfigure and reassess everything again. It's not like you can just ask for more money and they'll give it to you once the loan starts. And sometimes banks can't do that. They can't give you more money if you underestimated your project. That's the biggest killer that I've seen is underestimating, especially when COVID hit. There was a lot of increase in prices and unforeseeable things that they weren't prepared for. But when you do it, your due diligence correctly, a good banker usually puts a contingency or a hard money lender. They know from experience that there are unknown factors that are involved and they put a cushion built into the loan. So don't think if you're doing it for a million, that's what the whole project's going to be done for. Trust me, it doesn't work like that all the time. Now, any questions for the panel before we close? Christy, so when you do buy and sell, do you recommend the seller? I mean, do you recommend the buyer to be involved with the bank lender first?
I mean, if you called me up, John, and said, I want to buy a business, I would say, do you have your financing in order?
Okay, well, when I hear that, I'm thinking just my bank statements and an application and all that. Is there more?
Yes. So if you already have an idea of a budget in mind, and again, this is where it's great to just work with a team, is that you want to be able to go to the bank and say, hey, I want to buy a business for $100,000, let's just say, to make it easy. And they might say, okay, well, with your finances and your experience, we're going to give you $100,000. But if you want any more, I don't know if I'll be able to help you. And that's where somebody like Raylene would come in. And so that would be obviously after the fact, because then we would have the business, let's say we have the building, and then Raylene would be able to go in there and look, okay, just per, this information, we can loan on that, where the bank is giving her money from her own personal finances. So that's where like the second step kind of would come in for financing.
Justin and Raylene, I have a question. Do lenders, can lenders do hybrids? Can you do like conventional, and then if there's more money needed, can Raylene with hard money come in and fill in the extra if the bank can't do it? Or is it just like if it's all done conventionally, it needs to stay that way? What's today's market like in lending with with tight money situations?
I'd say it just depends on the situation. So most banks nowadays don't want to be in secondary lien positions. So if we're talking real estate and the bank is involved, you have a conventional bank involved, they're going to want to have and need to have that first lien position. And I think on Raylene's deals, I think that they require first lien position as well. Is that right, Raylene?
Yeah, so basically it would be, let's just say, Justin, you are in the middle of a construction loan with someone, you've lent to them and they just ran out of money or things aren't going properly. I would come in and say, hey, let's refinance this property. This is what we'll give you. We might come and say, hey, we want you, the investor, to put an extra $200,000 into this project because mistakes that have been made. So we have more working capital, and then we would take it and put it in a hard money loan for like a year and a half. And then we lend and give money accordingly as you meet each construction phase. We don't just give you a lot of money. We make sure you're making those complete construction phases and there aren't any hiccups. And then we go into the next phase and lend you money after you've completed it. We reimburse you that money. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What I have seen is sometimes you can pair a conventional loan, say for real estate, with an SBA loan for working capital or equipment or something like that. So for cash flow purposes, you might say, well, I'm going to finance this with the bank because they're offering me a lower rate than I could get with the SBA. But then I also need equipment purchases or working capital where the bank doesn't have the right product or structure that would fit that for what I'm looking for. Maybe I want to cash flow this over 10 years. And traditional banks can't do that. So then you go to an SBA 7A loan and you get one of their loans that is financed over 10 years. And that can be paired with a real estate loan conventionally.
Good to know. I did not know that. That's interesting. All right. Any other questions, Marilyn? What have you seen?
I had a quick question for Christy real quick. Christy, if you have a brick and mortar business and either buyer or seller, is the business and real estate, are those two separate transactions and negotiations, or how does that work?
I guess it really just depends, but yes. So, if you guys didn't know, Marilyn and I are business partners. So we structure these deals together. She's the commercial expert. I do the brokerage. Well, we both do the brokerage, but we're business partners. So definitely we structure the deals together.
Gotcha. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Anyone else? Okay, great. Well, we're coming to a closing. Thank you all for coming. We're glad that you made it, and we want to help you with your commercial project, whether it's still in your dream phase or you've started spending time working on it. If you want to reach us directly, you can just request it in the chat and someone will reach out to you. It was great seeing you all. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time in our next episode.
Great. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
all.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Y'all go have a good weekend.